All right. I'm not certain if we've started or not, but it looks like it. With that said, my name is Jace McCarty. I work for Pure Storage, and today on this opening acts, we're going to talk about better virtual conferences. Really, kind of some opinions as it pertains to what are some things that we can do to make this type of conference a little bit more successful. In comparison to those traditional conferences. If we can do a quick little roundtable, go around the room and everybody introduce themselves.
I'll go first.
Okay, good deal. Good deal.
Since it's just a mad rush. I'm Pumala Schmidt, also known as Exchange Goddess on the Twitters. I work for Microsoft. I am one of their cloud advocates, and all things Azure are important to me there. But I also love lobsters, cakes, dessert, and lots of wine.
All right. Arnaud?
Yeah, I am Arnaud Payne. So I'm French. I moved in US 4 years ago, and I am an independent consultant working on virtualization on Microsoft Azure, VMware, and Citrix product. Okay.
Richard?
Hi, Richard Kenyon. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I am a Buffalo VMUG leader. I've been a vExpert for the last 3 years, and I am currently a contractor with NetApp, and I am slowly becoming a whiskey snob.
All right, Jim?
Yeah, I'm Jim Jones. I am a senior cloud architect for Offsite Data Sync. We're one of the Veeam's largest service providers in the world. So doing all kinds of fun things there. I'm vExpert, Veeam Vanguard, et cetera, Like Richard, I do very much so like my whiskeys, and that'll do it.
All right, and I always butcher your name, Wences.
Yes, so my name is Wences Michelle. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Of course, go Cowboys, and I'm a cloud architect and a new grandfather, and so I like doing that.
Congrats from another grandfather over here. All right, so let's dig into today's topic, and I'm going to let you guys kind of duke it out as far as your opinions. I may have a little color commentary here and there. What do you guys think? And we'll go. I'll call on everybody and just kind of let it go from there. But what do you guys think about this virtual, this COVID kind of caused, if you will, virtual conference? And Pumala, I'll let you start it off.
So many words, but it's not going to be the same as an in-person conference. No matter how hard you try, all the marketing, whatever you do, you can't replace. Not that you can't. It's difficult to replace virtual with something that's in person. That something is in person. In person, there's just something different about it, right? There's that physical connection, which is very, very difficult in a virtual world, no matter how hard we try. But that's my take. But I love both. So there we go.
Who else has got some input here?
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Everyone's really.
I agree. I totally agree. I think we're social animals, and we like that. We're touchy-feely. We like to give hugs, shake hands, and cheers, salute.
High fives, right? Like I miss hugs.
Somehow I see drinking in there somewhere.
Yeah, like like we like holding a glass or maybe double fisting sometimes. But yeah. I mean, there's the social hours after a conference. I mean, those little things, like we don't think about it when we're there, but when you're virtual, you actually really miss out on that. Like I miss walking through the conference hall and having a plastic glass of wine and just bumping into people. And I actually miss getting wine spilled on me or beer spilled on me. That's, I can't believe I'm actually saying that.
The next in-person conference you go to, you're going to have a ton of wine spilled
but
on you.
I miss that, right? And I miss crumbs falling on my clothes. I mean, I can do that here, but it's just not the same. Like if somebody bumps into me.
The random encounters that I am missing. I'm jumping in and out of the different Orbital Jigsaw servers. I'm jumping in and out of Slack. I'm jumping in and out of the VMug Lounge. But it's not the same as, hey, I haven't seen you in like a year. Hey, I haven't seen you in like 6 months. Like, hey, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 3 years. Like, it's that you're walking and you're doing stuff, and all of a sudden you just see somebody and that connection's there. And that's the biggest thing that I am missing right now, seeing the network and friend ecosystem I have worked very hard to build over the last 5 or 6 years not being available to us.
Yeah, Arnaud or Jim, do you guys have some input here?
Yeah,
I
the
do.
fact is, sorry, Jim, go ahead.
After you, Arno.
Thank you.
After you.
The fact is also, when it's in person, I mean, you can be more engaged with people. I mean, you know that you are going to the conference for 2 or 3 days, so you are out of the office, and you can just let everyone know that you are out of the office for a conference, and you can focus really on the what is proposed at the conference, meet people. When it's virtual, on the other hand, I mean, you can register, for example, for an event which is virtual. But by the way, if you are with a customer facing an issue, you will not attend the virtual conference because you know that you need to help your customers. So it's really complicated as well. But on the other way, when it's virtual, you have some conference that they begin early in the morning and or run 24/7. So even if you are in another country, you don't have to move. You can join the conference whenever you want. So it's the good thing for virtual conference. So you have pro and cons for both.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I will absolutely agree with you on that one. That's, this is, I think, the 3rd or 4th virtual conference I've done since the start of summer. And there's no disconnect from the day job to that. Now, I will say I absolutely do feel like I'm getting much more sleep this VMworld than I'm used to. I appreciate that.
No earthquakes.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many numbers of friendships and frankly technical problems I've solved at, say, eye candy at 2 o'clock in the morning, or something like that, where you're just sitting around talking to somebody, and oh, hey, here's this thing, and these 5 other people are having the same thing, and we've come to solutions. But also getting to see our friends, getting to do each other. We can smack talk keynotes over Slack, but it's just not the same as sitting around a table with somebody.
Well, I'll just interject this really quickly. The reason I'm here as a moderator for Opening Acts is because I just happened to sit down next to Brian Knutson at VMworld 2005, and we kind of hit it off and had some common work experiences and things like that. And we've been friends ever since. So that's one thing that I don't think you can get from a virtual conference as far as that goes. So do you guys find that your regular day job, Jim, you kind of mentioned that there's no disconnect there. Do you guys find it a bit difficult where you've got, let's say, for those of us in a sales type focused role or in a technical type focused role where we've got account team saying, hey, I need you to do this. I've got a big opportunity here or whatever. And you're like, but wait, no, I'm at a virtual conference. I mean, do you guys find that detracting, from that? So Wences, I see you kind of giggling there. Let's see, hear your input on this.
Well, I'm not doing sales, but I'm in a support role right now, even though I'm a cloud architect. And you get interrupted all the time, and you just gotta, balance those spinning plates, right?
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, you guys can't see my desktop setup here, but for the last 2 days, I've got Slack on this monitor and work stuff on the monitor, and then my iPad. I've had a constant stream of VMworld sessions kind of going and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, it's the ability to focus on something, or I mean, even something like this, being able to focus on a conversation it's just not there.
Oh, I 100% agree. The focus is very difficult. I guess I was just trying to find the word for it. I mean, there's just so much going on. You've got the dog underneath your desk licking your toes. You've got kids trying to go to school that don't want to go to school because they're still laying in bed, going to whatever class they're in.
I had one 10 minutes before we started come to me and tell me they needed a copy of Huckleberry Finn. And I said, it's going to have to be digital. I mean, there's no way I can get you a physical copy right now. When did you tell me about this? Yesterday, right? So yeah.
It's a different world right now, and throwing the whole virtual conference in, the interruptions, everything. I can't focus. I know others can't, and even though we try, there's always something else distracting because we're not working from home. We're working and we're at home, and everything else is going on at the same time, and it's like, it's a million different things. I think after we get out of this, people are just going to be in this like wave of like, I need to get out of Dodge. Send me to a conference. I don't care what conference. You can send me to an Oracle conference. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And it's not just
let me get out of Dodge.
It's not just conferences. It's the whole remote working right now. It's, as our jobs are IT, we are doing Zooms and WebExes and interfacing through virtual everything. And then you have to remember, it's not just us. It's families are doing this with their grandparents. Schools are doing this with their kids, whether they're small kids or medium kids or college kids. And then you're doing that for your hobbies, and then you're doing that for your interactions with your advocacies. Every single thing has been virtual, and it's just like, oh my God, overwhelming. So all of a sudden, now you're at home trying to do all those things while taking care of your home and your family, if you have that choice. And it's very difficult to focus on one specific thing when it comes to working. So if I need to read an architecture diagram or I need to read something, it's lights off, door shut, bars down in front of the door. The kids are knocking at the door going, no, not right now. They can make visits and, web conferences and things like that. That's fine. But when I really need to do a technical problem, I just need to block everything out and just stare at my screen and go, okay, this is what I'm doing now.
Well, I think we're almost too connected. If that's even, we're just too connected. It's almost technology overload. Before I used to tell people, you need a break. You need a hobby that's not technology related, because it helps you disconnect. It just frees your mind a little bit. And with us in this virtual world, we are literally living in a matrix almost. Everything is virtual. Everything's connected, and it's all the time. It's like we're going into this shock, and I actually had to disconnect from social media for a while, actually disconnect from technology. It was just, it was too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I needed the break to sort of reset and focus on just living life as a human and not constantly being
completely agree.
Yeah, connected to my phone, connected to the computer, and just making sure that I'm always up to date and everything. And I realized in that time frame that you don't always have to be connected. Life continues to go on without you, and it's actually a good thing to really let go, especially now. It looks like we're going to be in this for the long haul for at least another year, and the more that we take these breaks, I think it's going to be healthier for all of us. And maybe we can accept those virtual conferences a little bit better, and feel a bit more connected with people instead of always being connected.
I think I have a recommendation for you. I think you need to buy a off-road vehicle.
Yeah. Scarlett and I are doing just fine.
Because here in Colorado, I've got that opportunity, every, maybe not every weekend, but every couple weeks or whatnot, I'll get out and drive up to the top of a mountain and kind of just look at the majestic views and that kind of thing. So it's a good opportunity to unplug, and there's no coverage in those places unless you've got a ham radio or something like that.
Yeah, so when Chase goes off the grid, he really goes off the grid.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a ham radio, so a little bit of connectivity as far as I'm concerned.
Let me see the TCP connections go over your ham radio, buddy.
Well, so let me introduce you to Wires X, right? Okay, we can have that conversation later. But so what are some of the things that you guys see? And we haven't heard from Arno in a bit, so I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to pose it to Arno, and I'll let you guys kind of figure out who'll go next after that. But what are some of the things that you find to be really, really valuable when it comes to those in-person conferences? right? I mean, what are things that you really find valuable and you get a lot out of, and make you want to go to that next conference? When you're trying to find, whether it be funding for it or scheduling, and what are the things
Yeah.
that kind of drive you to get value out of those in-person conferences?
The beers. No, it's a joke.
No,
No,
I
no.
agree.
The fact is, I love traveling, and so I am presenting at different events. Like, I don't know if you know it, E3VC. It's an expert to expert virtual conference.
Mhm.
So there is a lot in Europe, in Asia, and in US as well. So yeah, I like traveling and discover other countries. So this is, I think, for me, this is the most exciting part, the beginning. Why I would like to attend a conference, because the conference will be in a country or a town I never visited first. I think
Mhm.
it's my first options here, and after it will be, of course, the content. And yeah, I mean, also like hearing from others. I mean, you can hear from others in virtual conference, but I mean, yeah, the most important thing, I think, it's that when you are face to face, you are more engaged, I think, than virtual, more focused and more engaged with people, because keeping people engaged when you are in a meeting or in a virtual conference, it's quite complicated, because and by the way, just a quick example, most of conferences are now, based on COVID, are free. So people are registering to conference. I mean, it's free. Even if it's face to face, you can have the same issue. It's free, so they register. But at the end of the day, for example, you will have 50 attendees to your conference, and when the conference starts, you just have 5 or 10 people connected,
Mhm.
because it's free, so they don't really care. So it's
There's
but
not really any specific value associated with the freeness of it. If it's free, anybody can join, and it's not a big deal,
Mhm.
as opposed
yeah,
to paying for it, where you've got to make an investment in your time as well, right? That kind of thing.
yeah, but I mean, I have a friend of mine in France. They just make a conference. They ask people to pay. It's just it's €5, so $6. And at the end of the day, when the people come, they reimburse the people.
Oh, okay. Okay. So kind of if you come and do this, then we'll give you your money back. But if you don't, we'll just take your money. That's
Correct.
interesting.
Yeah,
It,
interesting concept.
it's a way to keep people engaged. I mean, I don't really like people when they. I mean, maybe it's me, but I mean, when I am engaged on something, I need to do it. I mean, I spoke at the beginning about something, and just to let you know, I mean, before this meeting, I was with a customer which faced an issue this morning, and I told him, sorry, I have some things planned, so I will resume after my meeting. So the customer,
Hope he's not watching this.
I hope so. I mean, it's a production issue, but I mean, I don't care. I was engaged with this, so I just want to follow my engagement.
No, understood. Understood.
And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think I miss the face-to-face conference, and to meet people. I mean, outside the conference. I mean, I missed the fact that I cannot see people going to have a drink on a Friday evening, or I mean, to be honest with you, since I moved from France 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I'm working from home. So COVID is not a big deal for me. I mean,
Right.
I travel for customers project twice in 5 years. All the project I did was remotely. So the COVID is not a big deal for me to work from home. But I still miss connection with people, real connection, face-to-face connection. And I think it's important for I mean, not only for your day-to-day work, but how you feel. I think you feel better when you meet people in face-to-face.
Well, yeah, and I think Winston said it initially about how we're social beings, right? I mean, we interact with others, and that's one of the things
Yeah,
that we get a lot of enjoyment out of, right? Okay.
sure.
Um, so, Richard, I think we're gonna cover this next, right? Kind
So
of your
the
input.
thing that, yeah, the thing that I miss most about being in person is I actually miss running into the engineers that write the product that I use. It's a very interesting experience to be able to sit down and have a 5, 10, 15-minute conversation with the guy who writes the code for the thing that you use every day that that person may or may not use. And I remember one of the times a few years ago, I ran into one of the UI designers of the HTML5 console for vSphere. And I said to him quite poignantly, if you give me a column in a display of data, you need to make it sortable. I don't care what your thought process is behind why it is. No. If you give me data in a column, you need to make it sortable. That's how the world has been trained to do that online. And it's one of the abilities a computer can naturally do is organize data efficiently. And I was very, very verbal with him. And I was like, just do that. A year goes by and I go to VMworld the next year. I'm at a round table and a person comes up to me and goes, hey, are you Richard? I'm like, yeah. Have I met you before? Sorry, we're a lot of people are in a conference. He goes, no. You are the guy that I talk about in my monthly meetings every time. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I'm the guy you told to make the columns work. And he go, there's this one person who has actually seen this thing that has verbalized it and said, if you give me a column, you need to make it sortable. And they have done that. And finally, now almost every column in the vSphere console is you can completely sort it however you want, no matter where it appears. But I was being mentioned as a customer in back-end management, bug hunting, whatever kind of code stream pipeline that you want to do by an engineer. I met at the conference and said, you guys are forgetting this piece. It's a very simple thing, just do it. And he was an advocate of me, and I'm assuming other people who have had that issue, but didn't get to run into him.
So, I used to work at VMware, and I'll tell you this, that it wasn't always in the best context that your name was used.
Are the columns sortable?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm teasing you. Right?
Now the truth comes out, right?
All right. So Jim.
I notice you're not at VMware anymore.
No. Don't get me talking about Pure Storage. I'm too happy. I don't want to make everybody jealous and want to come to work with me. So
we all have our Richard stories.
So what you got, Jim? What's your input here? What are some of the things that you find most valuable about the in-person experience or in-person conference?
Yeah, I mean, so to me, it's a twofold thing. One, to me, because I'm an East Coast guy, and for the most part, my company is based in the East Coast. The time zone changes for most of these conferences, usually being on the West Coast, really works out. So, as it gets later, I get a true disconnect from work and whatever that's going on in my life, that I can kind of have that step out. And part of the reason why that works is everybody that's on this call are, conference people. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel like I've made real and lasting friendships through the conference life. As you go to 2 or 3 of these, maybe a year, you start to see some of the same people. And, I've found I've got my little group of people that, while we've been able to have a bunch of Zoom calls, and I'm looking at people like Joe Hughes and Matt Crate, Vince Wood, while that's great, we've had our Zoom calls, it's nothing to like being able to, sit there and truly have that disconnect and say, hey, here's my buds talking to you, get to be around you for a week. Joe's case, share a room with you for a week last year because I was in a job change situation that he hooked me up. But it's just I miss connection to a lot of these different people. So
I miss V Stogies with my buddy, Todd Scalzot and Jason Baki and that kind of thing, right? I mean, completely separate. So, Pamela or Wences, you guys have something to add here? Some of the things you like as far as the most valuable piece?
Yeah, well, I have 3 things. It's all about learning, networking, and having fun, and meeting you guys at the conference every year. It's like a family reunion, so that's great. And then at the same time, then you meet new people, new speakers, and you just learn so much. And you don't get that, online. because it's
Yeah.
really being sociable, right? So it's really, I don't know how many things I've learned, drinking beer at a bar or dinner, because there's just the topics and the flow and the chemistry, it's great. And so sometimes when you're online, it's a one-way thing. It's not that interactive, right? So this week for VMUG, we had a VMUG party, and they used Second Life. So that was pretty interesting, but it's still not the same thing. So but I do like the online stuff because as they mentioned earlier, it was a lot of this stuff is free. There's a lot of conferences I couldn't attend before, and now I am, right. So there's pros and cons to both, but you can never replace people. People are people, and like I said, we're social, and we love touchy feely, the hugs and the handshaking and all of that. That's my 2 cents on that.
Pumala?
So, kind of piggybacking off of Richard's comment about meeting the product engineers, what's really valuable from my side is actually meeting customers, right? Speaking with them, finding out what's wrong with the product, what's good, what could be better, all that good stuff. That's really difficult to do online. So, and then also that physical connection, that chemistry you meet with people, random conversations. Somebody recognizes you from social media, things like that. It's very difficult to mimic in the virtual world. So all those little things add up, and it's like, wow, you can't really replace virtual, and you can't really replace in person with virtual. You can try. So hopefully we'll get back to that. But there are good things about virtual conferences as well, where you don't get the what is it? The good word. You don't get rando freaks or creepers, stalking you on the show floor. That has been eliminated.
Well, no, you just get them on Discord and Twitter, and you don't, you're removed from them. But yeah,
Yeah. So
see, I really thought that you were going to say some of the things you missed about the in-person conference was really the dessert assortment. I really thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm not into this whole vegan dessert thing, and that's been a trend right now. They look pretty, and then you eat it, and you're like, we're gonna put that back down. And hey, I've been ordering lots of desserts, so I'm getting there. Yes, I miss desserts, but I do not miss the creepers.
You miss desserts you don't pay for.
The random inappropriate comments, things like that. That actually is.
I think that's a benefit. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, there's no block in real life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. True. The thing I miss. I think the thing I find, maybe not the most valuable, but one of the things that I like to be able to reflect on, right, is the stories, right? The stories that we get to bring back from these one-on-one interactions, and whether it be as an attendee, as a vendor, obviously it's a little different, depending on what you're doing and whatnot, but I'll share one as an example. Years ago, I was working at EMC, and I was working the labs, and there was a guy that I would not have normally interacted with as part of my normal day job, who was running the labs, and his name is Alan McGrath, very Irish guy from Cork, and we were talking one day, and I said, hey, what time do I need to be here tomorrow? And he said, oh, 6:30. And I looked at him and I said, I figured I'd be a little cheeky, and I said, 6:30? Is that like 3 a.m.? And then he looked at me and he said very, very sternly, he's like, for the non-Irish McCarty, that's 6:30. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to be a couple minutes late because I'm going to stop and get a cup of coffee. I'll be in around 6:33, like that. And then he cussed me out in Gaelic at that point. But we're even today we're good friends. We don't see each other nearly, as often as when I worked at EMC, and I'd see him from time to time at VMworld and those kinds of things. But but I know that I can reach out to him at any point. We've got that rapport. We made that, that connection as a colleague, as a coworker, and that kind of thing. So, to me, whether it be me interacting with a customer or me when I was a customer, my first VMworld in 2005, that's what I find the most valuable, is that personal interaction. So. Yeah. All right, Lexi, I'm gonna get you. All right. So kind of the next question, and we'll kind of let it kind of go from there. But and Pumala really kind of brought up a really good point as it pertains to the virtual stalkers, and Richard said there's no blocking in real life, right? And I think that some of the from an in-person perspective, we're really good. At least from my experience in the military, we were really good about trying to help take care of others when it looked like there might be a threat or that kind of thing. But what are some other valuable pieces to a virtual conference, right? I mean, we talked about kind of the cost. We talked about the ability to be removed, if you will, from threats, that kind of thing. But what are some of the other valuable pieces to a virtual conference? And who wants to go first? How about you, Jim? I'm gonna call you out. How about that?
No worries. Yeah, I mean, so one thing I will say that I like, and I find that VMworld is the first one I think has done this, is they're kind of going with a rapid fire model. I think all the most of the live sessions are like anywhere from 5 to 25 minutes. So especially it's the first one that I've seen that's actually playing into the idea that we know that we don't have you as a captive audience. So we're going to give you 25 minutes, it's little chunks. So you can kind of be around here and there. I like that model. There's been some gamemanship that I've seen up from all of them. One of the more interesting things that I saw was Cisco Live kind of like did the whole party thing to where they, instead of having one concert, they had like 30 and they were all 5 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
Which was kind of neat. So, you have Dave Matthews here, followed by, I think, like Keith Urban there for 5 minutes, which was kind of neat. So that's been kind of fun. And, the technical content has been good. So
Good.
I really appreciate that.
Okay, so you brought up kind of the rapid fire content, short, more consumable pieces, that type of thing. What else? What are some other benefits of a virtual conference? Who'd like to jump in?
Yeah,
I will. So you actually get more content because they're shorter, right? They're more consumable because everyone's. I'm going to say this, kind of group everybody into it. Our attention spans are short. After about 20, 30 minutes of watching a video, or even in an in-person session, we tend to drift off. But at least in in-person session, there's somebody sitting next to you that you might have a conversation with. But at home, your attention span has really dropped. So making those sessions shorter makes it more consumable. Now you have, just a ton of content that you can go back and review or possibly watch simultaneously if you can multitask that way. So that is definitely an added benefit there, keeping them shorter, more concise.
We're already doing that now, right? We've got one screen over here, and then we've got I've got my phone actually, right here in front of me, where I'm halfway watching Discord, and I think you kind of got to focus your attention, when it comes to that. I'm not perfect at that, but no,
I don't think we're humans. We're not supposed to be perfect in that, and we probably shouldn't, because there's always going to be something that's left behind, right? When you multitask, you're not 100% across the board. Very few people can actually do that.
Right. I would agree. Okay, Arnaud?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things with virtual conference is that you can, I mean, even if the virtual conference length is 3 days, you can see, in live or the recording, and you can just focus on what you like. I mean, the fact is, when I go to some event, there is some sessions that are not replayed. So it's just one time. And if I have 2 sessions which I am interested with at the same time. I cannot attend both. With virtual, you can select which one you are interested with, and you can see them whenever you want. And I think it's a great thing for that.
I completely agree. I would say though that if you look at the way VMware has done things, they've made content available after, right? But I think you lose some of the excitement, right? And you can literally kind of do one, then do the next, then do the next, and oh, I missed that. I'll go get it really quickly, as opposed to waiting a week for things to be published, right? That kind of thing. I think that's kind of where you're going with it. Yeah.
And also, just to quickly talk back what Richard said with the interaction with the PM. The fact is, when you are at a physical conference and you want to speak with someone, it's one-to-one. So you are sure that you can speak to directly to the person, and you are the only one who can speak with him. I mean, not the fact is that it's complicated. I mean, when it's virtual, it's complicated because you do not have this one-to-one interaction. You have one among 100 or 200 people, or even more.
One to many,
and, yeah. And you do not have the one-to-one interaction that you have with physical, face-to-face conference.
Okay. Who do we have next? So we're good on time. Who'd like to add to this particular question? What are some of the pieces you find valuable about a virtual conference?
Well, you just brought up a good point, timing. Sessions aren't running late. You're not still stuck in the room where it's like some of it's pre-recorded, or if it is being streamed live, there's a producer in the background that cuts you off because there's another session that's going to be streamed. So that's a good thing too, because it makes sure the presenters are prepared. They've rehearsed and they know their timings.
Okay. Do you think there could be some trade-offs in the amount of content, though? Like I was on an internal partner-only call or session yesterday, and I brought something up, and they said, "Well, you're technically right, but we chose not to focus on that," and that kind of thing.
There could be some elimination of content, but that's where you come down. That's where the speaker, the presenter, when you are presenting the content, you determine what's really valuable, right? And that's what you present. And then you could have segues into it. Like, okay, here's the session. There's more details here, maybe a blog post or, some other platform that they can go, like Microsoft Docs or Microsoft Learn, that has more of the content there. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. But it's true though, right? If you have a 25-30-minute session, you can't get everything in. So you're going to pick you're going to cherry pick the really, really important stuff, the stuff you really want people to understand. And then other stuff, so here's where you can go and really get in-depth knowledge of it and even try for yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, kind of as an aside to the question of what are we liking about it, I will say from someone who's now doing this, and then I did a session for Veeam's conference, virtual conference as well. Has anybody else noticed the wild differences in the different platforms that everybody's using for this? I will say, I mean, props to you guys here at VM Underground. This has actually probably been one of my better experiences for how it actually works to create the content.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of on that point, Jim, right? Like I hadn't logged into Discord, and I made a statement yesterday on Discord where I said, "Man, this is a dumpster fire." And it was only and the reason I said that was because it was like information overload, right? And yes, I'm an FOG, right? We all know this from the gray. I'm a freaking old guy, right? But when you've got Slack and Teams and Discord and Twitter and all these other platforms, I think one of the challenges here when it comes to that is the fact that and no disrespect to to Nick or to Jeremiah, I've gotten in and I've kind of tweaked my Discord, and it's a bit more consumable by me, and that was just a fault on my part of it, not being familiar with it. But it brings up a bigger question. As different vendors have these online conferences, do you guys feel that, I mean, obviously, and Jim, you mentioned the specific case where this is a really, really good platform for what we're doing today, but how does that kind of change the way that you're engaged in a virtual conference when you've got to have one platform or another platform, and you've got to, that kind of thing? It's like the normal day-to-day interacting with customers where we use Zoom, and then every now and then we'll have a WebEx because the customer won't allow Zoom, and everybody's like, oh boy, WebEx again, just because we're more familiar with different platforms. How do you guys, kind of tackle that piece, or what are your input as far as the different types of technology that are in use with virtual conferences? Like Wince, as you said, the Second Life thing that my VMug did the other night. I was in for a very brief time. I couldn't get my audio to work on my headphones, and my wife said, "Hey, let's go eat." I said, "All right, let's
go."
That kind of thing. So who'd like to say something about kind of the technology and the challenges there?
Well, I would say that the Second Life thing was it was fun and interesting, but to your point, it's another learning curve, and it was still kind of buggy, and I got kicked out I don't know how many times when I mentioned beer. So it was okay because you get to meet the people that you already know and you've met in the past. It's a global thing, right? So it was a fair experience. I wouldn't say it was an optimal experience. Whereas, with Discord, I am finding it very interactive, and that's what I like about the Discord is coming to one place to do the streaming, one place to do the chatting, and then these Beer Bash or another meeting room to go do a one-on-one or to a one-to-many, 25 if you had a quick meeting you wanted to set up. So I like it because of the interactions, and you get to provide more feedback. And actually, I went and I'm trying to help the guys in Latin America, so I just hung out in the LATAM area, and when people ran into issues, so I was like a help desk for them, right? And then so, I actually got to meet people that I didn't even know before, right? So I was getting some of the social aspects when it's more interactive versus like, watching something on YouTube where they're just blurting something out and it's a one-way stream, right? So
yeah. Well, I would say that I give you mad props and respect for doing that. Really contributing as a community member, helping those other folks out. Absolutely. So hey, Richard, you kind of mentioned something kind of offline. What are some things that we can do to improve this experience?
Well, there's some of the drawbacks right now, as Winston was saying, is like there's this group has this tool, this group has this tool, and while we have luckily stumbled across the Orbital Jigsaw Discord server, which has been fantastic, it's not the thing the companies are using to distribute their content and work with their vendors, and it's more of the community tool, which is great. What my thoughts were experiencing the VMug kind of Second Life thing that they did, it was cool, but it didn't really work well on my Mac, and it was very limiting in the fact that while everybody was there, it was very difficult to stream video into it. And that thought process to me was like, how do you get a 30,000 to 100,000 group of people who have all sorts of different technology experience backgrounds, not for their career, but just in day-to-day use? How do you get a company to brand that, make the vendors accessible in it? And the VMug thing kind of thought to my head, like, why doesn't nobody go ask Blizzard to set up a World of Warcraft server that the infrastructure is there? You can have a majority of your people log into it a week ahead of time on a dated timeline. You've got video in there, you've got chat in there, and you've got other things to do than just sit around and kick a soccer ball or just talk with friends. You can make avatars, and you can do this with any type of video game platform. And this doesn't just, think in my head, oh, VMworld or Ignite or Insight or Veeam or Cisco. Like, this could be the way forward. The video game industry has that set up already. You don't need to build anything. You just need to tweak some things. They can make a product out of it during the COVID pandemic. People get a new experience they've probably never seen before if they're not video gamers. And all of that is there, built, ready to go, and can be charged as a service with very little change to it. And I'm hoping somebody takes that idea and runs with it, but I don't have the entrepreneurship to make that into money.
You actually hit something, Richard. A comment that I think virtual conferences need to find a way to make the attendees, to allow the attendees to feel connected to the conference, to make them feel like they're actually really there. So the idea of, a gaming platform, I think that's brilliant, right? Because when you are gaming online, you're connected to the other players. And if we can somehow get that working on a virtual conference, we would feel like we're actually connected to attendees as much as possible. And we won't feel so disconnected. One of the feedbacks I've gotten for several of our conferences is the disconnect they feel. It's cool and all that, it's virtual and I get to attend, but I still feel disconnected. So something that makes attendees feel like they're actually really there. They're doing something. They're making I don't want to say make a difference, but they're actually at the conference would be brilliant.
That make it sticky, because right now you're jumping in and out of things. And if you do a game world for real, you have to have a reason to be in there and stay in there. The content is obviously the reason you're coming to the conference in the first place. But if you don't have the hallway sessions or the bands that are playing in the hallways or the luncheon and the snacks and all these things that keep you in the Moscone Center or in Vegas, you need something else to keep you in the conference to get your value out of it, and also to allow the vendors to talk to you. And it just seems like a video game world or a showroom like that is just the obvious answer that nobody's hit upon.
What about VR? VR technically, it's a simple use of VR, right? Because that's expensive.
You got the cost behind the cost behind it.
Like it'd be like a cheap version of VR, because you actually kind of are there, sort of.
Let me kind of add something to this as well, right? And Arnaud mentioned this kind of offline as well, but some of the incentives, right? I mean, when we're at a conference, it's like, hey, come by the whatever booth and get some swag, or come over here and register for this, and so on and so forth. What if we also had the capability within this, online conference to have, giveaways, whether it be an Amazon, electronic gift card, or a Starbucks gift card, or $50 to Best Buy or whatever. I mean, I remember when I was at I'd first come to VMware, and I was actually at EMC World, and HP was doing a thing on Twitter. They weren't even there, obviously, at EMC World, and I won an online Twitter thing and got $500, and they took me to Best Buy and got an iPad, right? That kind of thing, which was kind of interesting. And I did all the legal and ethical stuff and checked with my boss, and I was good because I wasn't singled out. But where I'm going at with that is that's one thing that I see that's kind of missing, is that engagement piece. I mean, I remember being at a VMworld years ago where you had to have this shirt on, and you had to be here at a given time, and if you met all those criteria, then you could possibly win. And then the guy that won didn't have the shirt on. And then they literally gave him the opportunity to put the shirt on while he's right there. And of course, everybody was like, and they got all ticked off because there were other people that really met eligibility, right? So what are some things there that that you guys think that could be done, is to kind of make it more engaging, right?
I want a Lego. I'm sorry. I want those free Legos.
Well, yeah, Legos are great. I mean, I've got
one of the things.
Do you know how many booths I went to?
Did the other day was one of the things that BMUG did last night in the lounge was 80s music trivia. It was just kind of a dead time, and people were kind of starting to fall off. And I think Tyler was the BMUG faculty that just went, "Hey, anybody want to do 80s music trivia?" And we all went, "Yeah," and everybody came back, and it stuck. We did that for like an hour and a half last night. It was amazing.
You got activities that span, that are very broad, that span different interests too, because maybe not everyone's interested in gaming and stuff like that.
Yep, understandable.
Yeah, so I think there's got to be different interests involved. I think that's lacking as well in virtual conferences, because we almost always assume that we're all nerds. Not everyone wants to, not everyone's like the typical nerd that wants to engage in tech.
Well, yeah, different people want different things. Some people are fine with T-shirts. Some people will want Azure credits. Some people want, AWS credits. Some people, I've got some company swag over here that, that I give out when I'm with, around customers and stuff, nothing that is really of any particular value, as far as that goes. But,
there's a swag people, like they go around, they collect swag. Like there should still be a way for them to do that. They go to the virtual booth and try to get swag, and it gets mailed to them. Just think, the FedEx guy is going to hate them.
True.
Yeah, but I think also the fact is, when it's virtual, when it's face to face, partners need to pay for the booth. It costs a lot of money for them. Virtual, it's less money. So maybe they should take part of this money to provide goodies or something that can keep attendees engaged. You can make some polls during the session just to see if people are really listening or not. Even if you have some tools that can let you know if the people are the application is in the background or in the foreground. And you need the fact is, I don't want to misspell your name, but something was said about recorded session. The fact is, recorded session, I think it's a good thing. The only thing, sorry, the only thing with recorded session, you miss the QA part with attendees.
You could still have that with recorded sessions. SolarWinds does an excellent online conference. So they record their sessions ahead of time. Tons of production work goes into it. But when it's streamed live for everyone, the presenters, the speakers in those sessions actually attend the chat room. So there's, questions and things that go on. So it's you get the best of both worlds there.
Okay, it's a recorded session available for users. It's recording session played during a real-time meeting.
Yep, it's played, and then you actually attend the live chat as well. So I think that is a great mix of using recorded sessions and making the speakers be accountable, right? They have to show up. They got to be in the chat room because people are going to have questions or they're going to have comments. And then you can interact with the attendees. So that's a huge call out to SolarWinds. They do an excellent online conference, and they've been doing it for several years now. And I've been a presenter there for a few years, and that's one of the things I like about it is that you actually, you're engaging with the attendees, and the attendees love it, because you're in there with them.
I think you're kind of onto something there. I know that, and like we were talking in Discord earlier today about people needing, or trying to get more people to speak at VMugs and things like that. And a lot of people just aren't comfortable with that. And in a real conference, quite often they're not comfortable with, walking up to the mic in the middle of in the session and asking a question because they are, afraid of either looking like they don't know what they're talking about or something else, maybe bashful, whatever, I don't know. And just in my time on the vendor side, I've seen a couple different cultures where questions are not asked at all during a session. And then when the session's over, then people will independently come up and they'll have their question, right? So I think that the sheer opportunity of being able to provide an interactive, one-on-one private conversation is an engaging opportunity when it comes to virtual conferences.
And I think as well, when you make virtual conference, you need to, so for example, when you have a session, so you present something, it's a 1 hour session, you have the QA, attendees can ask a question. Most of time, you wait at the end of the session to reply to the question. I think the question should be replied when they're asked and not wait, in line, in real time. It's because it will make more interaction between attendees and presenter.
Well, so having presented quite a bit, I would argue that sometime to stay on track time-wise, you have to defer the questions to a later time. There may be additional value from that, right? But when you have a given set of things you have to accomplish that you want to make certain, sometimes people will push it to the back. So it really just depends.
You know what?
That goes both ways completely. Is you could get derailed easily, but the presenter could also be skilled enough to be understanding that they could get derailed. So it really comes down to the style of presenter that you have, but I've been in Q&A sessions that have been live like that, and they're a blast if the presenter does it right. If the presenter doesn't do it right, they can get sidetracked by one person who hogs the whole 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's very interactive, and I do like those.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
I will add to this that one way that this was done really well, and something to think about is, so with the recent turn to virtual for the Tech Field Day events, they've done an excellent job of, you do your presentation, and then they send all the delegates and the company that was presenting into a holding room for a while afterwards, and effectively you get that Q&A offline, and that was extremely helpful, and it kind of lends itself to the standard conference model of, here I have 40 minutes of talking, and I've got 10 minutes left that you can ask whatever questions you want if you walk up to the mic. So I mean, that seems like one of those things that should be able to be built into the platform. The other thing that I would add that would make this, maybe not so much more engaging but more consumable, is we need to fix the app sprawl kind of situation for these virtual conferences. I think we've all kind of hit on a little bit, as I sit here with this in one window, Slack, Twitter, Discord, as I'm going across it to get the conversation. I think the next variant of this is going to have to be able to build that ongoing chat capability into the actual platform to make it a little better.
All right, so I want to do just a quick little time check. We've got about 4 minutes left, and there are 5 of you guys. So what I'd like to do is we've had some really, really good, rapport and content as it pertains to virtual conferences, the good, the bad, what we miss. What I'll do now is say, if everyone wants to take about 30 to 45 seconds and kind of give a wrap up of kind of your, what you view or what your opinion is, or simply how to get a hold of you, as we continue to operate in this mostly virtual world. And I'm going to start with Winces. I'll let you go first, and I'll try to keep on the time, but I know we're right up on our hard stop, so I want to make sure everybody gets some content or some input here.
Yeah, I would say that I like these virtual conferences, and I love in-person conferences, and moving forward, when we get out of this COVID thing, I hope we still have some of these virtual conferences. And anybody wants to reach out to me, you can always reach out to me at W Michelle on the Twitters.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Richard?
I'll plug VMworld. If you guys want licenses, or if you want to expand your trainings with 20% off discounts among a number of other benefits, please ask my VMworld person, and they will help you out in that regard. You can contact me at richardkenyon@twitter.com, as well as Buffalo VMworld, as well as both of those on LinkedIn. And if you are watching this in the future and haven't been a part of the Orbital Jigsaw server for Discord, please do so. The IT community seems to have stuck there, and will hopefully continue to do that through the foreseeable future. So thanks, everybody.
Okay. Arnaud?
Yeah, so my only hope is that when the COVID will go away, we still have face-to-face conference. They will be back. Because the fact is, if the virtual is going really well, maybe we'll not have any more face-to-face conference. So it's my only hope.
All right. Jim?
Thank you.
Yep. I will say I agree with Arnaud and leave it at that since we're timed. But just say, quickest way to find me is start at koolaid.info, and you can find all the different social media ways to find me there. Thank you for having me.
Pamela?
You can find me on the Twitters as @ExchangeGoddess. And all I gotta say is I miss hugs.
All right. And again, my name's Jason McCarty. I'm with Pure Storage, and you can just find me on Twitter at Jason McCarty. Being part of this community, and whether it be conferences or VMTN or now Discord or whatnot, I've really enjoyed all the contributions that people have given to me and given to the community, and I enjoy giving back to the community. I appreciate everybody's time today, and hope you have a great rest of VMworld. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.